Alright, ready to begin Case 2. Ace Attorney Chronicles, second part. Ace Attorney... I keep forgetting. What is it called? What is the second part called? Resolve. I had a slew of dropped frames at the beginning of the stream because I started the stream and then opened up Steam and it was like, it's time to download a 2 gig update of Paradise Killer. Which I did stop it, right? I did stop it. The Memoirs of the Clouded Kokoro.
It was a ghastly tale of a winter's night. One of an invisible killer and a crime perpetrated on the pavement along Briar Road. As the victim lay at death's door, the mystery of just who had stabbed the young lady from behind had been resolved. But no sooner had my friend saved that Eastern Exchange student from his harrowing plight than in the dim, flickering shadows of gaslight did a second bizarre crime rend the stillness of that very night. I dare say most can still recall the sensational headlines of the day. Haunted apartment of death. The condemned
Most people recall the headlines, but they don't talk about them. It's not allowed.
Of coal gas.
Everybody's sworn to secrecy.
Though the great detective had at once discerned the truth upon his arrival at the scene, it only proved to be the overture that announced the rising of the curtain on a most tragic play.
It only just occurred to me, but isn't that supposed to be Watson narrating those? AKA Wilson? And don't we know for sure that he's dead? Hey Sabine, this certainly is the right game, isn't it? My name is Ryusuke Naruhodo. I'm a fledgling lawyer, just starting out on my journey. 6 months ago, I arrived as a visiting student of law, having made the long voyage across the sea from the Empire of Japan to here, London, England. And on the way, in quite extraordinary circumstances, I made the acquaintance of a world-famous detective. Currently, I reside in the attic of the detective's own lodgings, where I run my legal consultancy of sorts. I don't think you can part way have a legal consultancy. I think you either are one or you're not. I think it would be bad to only sort of be a legal consultancy. Oh, how am I doing? I'm doing good. And yeah, we always get a cutscene of that style at the very beginning. I only just noticed how incredibly bright my apartment looks on camera. I got a weird white balance thing going on. I assure you that, and this whole back wall is all dark. What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, camera? It is brighter now than it would normally be. Just, you know, time, sun, angles. I've successfully defended a number of clients in Britain's highest court, the Old Bailey. But since a particularly grueling and unforgettable legal battle 4 months ago now, I haven't returned to the courtroom. In truth, I lost my right to return. But that epic trial was just one small part of an epic tale, a tale which was now about to awaken from slumber, thanks to a letter that arrived this morning from my homeland. The letter is grumbly. What a delicious smell wafting up the stairs. It must be nearly time for breakfast. I better go down to Mr. Sholmes' suite and say good morning to the great detective and his flatmate. And pretend that we've never met them, because technically a new game. Gotta introduce everybody from scratch. Ah, Bruno, good. I was just about to call out to you. The bacon's ready. Good morning, Iris. It smells delicious as usual. Before we eat, though, I have some news. I had a surprise this morning. Shh! Not another word, Mr. Naruhodo. Now, hold on. This game takes place kind of a while ago, and I was under the impression, well, no, maybe it's different in England. In America, eating bacon for breakfast did not take off until the mid-1900s. Specifically because of the Beech-Nuts ad campaign, specifically to get people to eat bacon for breakfast in order to drive up bacon sales. Maybe they always ate it over in England. They were way ahead of the curve. This could be just the abstruse thing for my pre-breakfast stagnation-repelling mental stimulation, my dear fellow. I've never played Satisfactory. I've seen pictures of it. I'm aware that other people stream it. I have too many... So I'm in the middle of uploading stuff, of course, from like a year ago. And I was like, oh man, now that I'm done uploading Heaven's Vault, I kind of do want to go play through it again. It would be offline, because I don't like to do a second play of a game if it's going to be repetitive, like on stream. But I'm like, yeah, I should play through that a second time, because it does seem, now that it's fresh in my memory again, I'm like, this will be, it would be fun to play through that again. And I'm currently uploading Final Fantasy 13-3, and I'm like, I should boot that back up and, pick up where I left off so that I can play through the rest of the game and then stream the ending. And I haven't done either of those things. I should. I really should. I should also clean. I should also do my taxes and get a job. Morning to you too, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, yes. I see. So, little close. Little close. He's kind of pulling a Nike-kun on us. No, not Nike. Guy. I can't think while he's looking at me. The truth is as clear to me as day. My faculties of observation have revealed it again. What are you talking about? You, Mr. Naruto, you have, this very morning, met with a surprise. Well, is that not the case? Really, my dear fellow, it barely warrants explanation. Firstly, your hair is particularly unkempt, somewhat reminiscent of a bird's nest. Secondly, you have neglected to fasten the third button of your jacket. Clearly, when considered together, these two facts point to you having been flustered this morning. Can I talk now? But of course. Though I don't look for admiration, you understand. My hair always looks like this. It's been this way since I first met you. Oh, it has? And the button was ripped off last night, if you remember. By you? Hurley pulled your button off? Oh yes, I recall the incident now. It was after supper, was it not? As the evening advanced, I picked up my violin and began to play the wailing notes of a haunting tune. But then, to my utter dismay, the third string snapped. Why did it have to happen? Why? Little wonder then that in my vexation I grabbed the first button I saw and ripped it from its proper place. Logically follows. Well, I'd like it back now, please. It's troubling me that I can't fasten my jacket. And it's troubling me that you expect me to know where it is. Somewhere thereabouts on the floor, one presumes. Helpful. What matters at present time, my dear fellow, is simply whether or not my deduction was unerring. But Hurley, Runo said it when he came in, didn't he? I had a surprise this morning. Well, that really is a surprise. Yes, this man is the pride of the British Empire, the famous consulting detective, Mr. Sherlock Holmes. There can't be a single person in the world who doesn't know his name. Alright then, enough of this silly conversation. Come and eat this bacon before it goes cold. And I have a new herbal tea for you. Herbal tea! Well, I don't give her an English accent, so she can say herbal. For you to try too. My latest special blend. And here we have Iris Wilson, Mr. Sholmes' lodger and companion, a truly exceptional young girl who's the author of a highly successful serialization here in London. Yes, The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes as published in Rand magazine. So, Mr. Naruhodo, won't you put us out of our misery? What surprised you this fine morning? Well, I received a letter from Japan. Oh, from Susie, you mean? Was it? Really? That's right. And she had some rather startling news, in fact. Ah, intriguing indeed. You must tell us all about it over breakfast. Oh yes, what fun. This is the letter that arrived from Japan this morning by International Post. Obviously. Oh, how lovely. Look at Susie's beautiful writing. I wish I could read it. And how is your judicial assistant faring, may I ask? She's very well, thank you. In fact, according to what she's written, she actually appeared as a lawyer in the Japanese Supreme Court and won a case. Really? Oh, isn't she wonderful? A cut above your good self, my dear fellow. I've won cases too, you know. Apparently, Mr. Natsume appeared in the trial as a witness. Natsume. No, I don't recall that name. Of course you do. We helped the man twice. Oh yeah, wait. So is this not a flash? We should be flashing back to the second case. That's the one that they were talking about, the whatever gaslight killer, the coal man. You know, in those two cases that took place on Briar Road 6 months ago. Ah, the mustached twitchy man with the somewhat feline eyes and the mustache. He didn't have two mustaches early. Yes, who could forget those two cases? They made a very deep impression on me. Although I must confess the details are a little hazy now. Very deep impression they made on you? Clearly. So, what was this startling news penned by Miss Susato? Do you know the case of the haunted lodgings, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes. Very interesting, you know. I feel entirely uncertain that a case of that nature did not occur. It's totally forgotten then. Anyway, in her letter, Miss Susato asked that we read over her case notes again and investigate further. Although it took place half a year ago, for what purpose? Because of something that Mr. Natsume said to her, apparently. He suggested that the real reason why she was called back to Japan so suddenly might have something to do with that case of the haunted lodgings. Oh? On Mr. Natsume's return to Japan, Miss Susato's father questioned him about the case, she says, and something Mr. Natsume said appeared to trouble Professor Mikotoba, prompting him to send that telegram. Oh, that case, yes. It was very strange, wasn't it? Yes. And I had compiled the whole story into a nice, neat manuscript ready for publication, too. But then Hurley here was all funny about it, remember? He was very mean. That story must not be published, you said, very mysteriously as well. Really? I said that? Are you sure? Do you perhaps know something about it as well, Mr. Sholmes? About why Miss Susato was suddenly told 4 months ago that she had to return to Japan? Repatriation. It's been 4 months now since we waved Susie off at Dover. It was such a shock, wasn't it? The way she just suddenly announced that she had to go back to Japan. Indeed it was. Due to a telegram that she received from her homeland, I believe. That's right, telling her to return urgently. Yes, because her father had passed away. No, it just said he was suffering from a high fever, the cause of which was unknown. He's not dead. But according to this letter, that news about her father's fever was just a ruse. A jabate. So Susie's daddy lied to her so that she'd make the voyage back home? Why would he do that? I have to admit, I have absolutely no idea. But she believes it's almost certainly related to the case of the haunted lodgings. Summoning her back to Japan so suddenly like that. I wonder what Miss Susato's father is hiding. Hurley, do you know what it's all about? Oh, it's dressed up now. Ah, well, who can say? What? You said... Please, I have engagements, my dear fellow. My calendar is surprisingly full today. And a stringent analysis of the matter would be excessive, I feel, even if I were quite at leisure. So, Man the fort in my absence, won't you, Iris? I will, Hurley, don't worry. See you later. And the bow. He scuttled off rather quickly there. Scarpered, even. I think perhaps Professor Mikotoba isn't the only person hiding something here. Soseki-san was involved in 2 cases, but only one of them was forbidden from being published. By, of all people, Mr. Sholmes. Aha! I found them at last. Iris, are they... the notes about the case? That's right. Susie and I compiled them together. The case of the haunted lodgings. Do you want to read them, Rudo? Absolutely. Thank you, Iris. I have no idea what secrets could still be hiding in the shadows of this case. But perhaps if I read over the notes again, something might come to light. That's the spirit. No, that's a gun. Guns are not spirits. You cannot channel guns. And so, Iris and I decided to read over the case notes again together. Everything from what happened to our investigation, to that fierce battle in court that followed. Spoilers, I didn't need to know that there was going to be a court case. Reliving every detail, I just need to find a clue, and I have all the time in the world, because, of course, I'm no longer allowed to practice law in the courts of Great Britain. Just gloss right over that. He's like, oh, we'll explain it later. In a different chapter. Rokugatsumai. It was 6 months ago. A mysterious incident that unfolded on the wintry streets of London. A young woman was found lying on the snowy pavement of Briar Road with a knife in her back. Fortunately, her life was spared, but she was unconscious for several days following the incident. The fog was thick, and nobody saw her attacker, but, by a cruel twist of fate, a visiting Japanese student was walking behind her at the time, and was duly arrested. That man was Soseki-san, and the man who effected his arrest was Mr. Sholmes. Ooh, good use of the word effect. The rare verb form of effect that does start with an E. Believing in our compatriot's innocence, Susato-san and I decided to represent Soseki-san in court, and after a grueling trial of many twists and turns, we finally managed to prove his innocence. Joyful, joyous, jubilant jubilation was the man's reaction after the trial, but his jubilant jubilation was short-lived. We received a telegram from Mr. Sholmes the following morning. The victim of the Briar Road stabbing has regained consciousness. Hurry to Bart's at once. So Susato-san and I summoned a handsome? A low-hung, two-wheeled covered vehicle drawn by one horse for 2 passengers, with the driver being mounted on an elevated seat behind and the reins running over the roof. Oh. I can picture it, but I've never heard the word before. Why would they put the driver behind? You just put him up front. You save money on reins length. Hey, Blind. Good to see you. Thank you for the host. We're just getting started on... So, case 2, they jumped over to England, and they were like, you remember that case from 6 months ago? And they're like, oh, I think I remember it. Let's read a book about it. And now we're now starting the case from 6 months ago in a flashback. This whole chapter will be a flashback. There you are at last. Good morning, Mr. Sholmes. Hospital shouldn't have mice in it. They cost extra. There's a mouse tax. I think not. Oh. You are late. What on earth took you so long? Your telegram only arrived at 5 o'clock, Mr. Sholmes, and it's a 20-minute ride to the hospital. That's right, and it's 5:30 now. Depending on whether you're in England or Germany, you can say it 2 different ways. I think we made very good time. The time is utterly irrelevant. The fact is, I've been waiting for what has felt like an eternity. In point of fact, I myself was awoken at 4 this morning by a telegram boy, and feeling it was somewhat unjust that I alone had been roused at such an hour, I sent one to you. Well, thanks for that. Anyway, you're here now, so the victim is over there. She only just regained consciousness. What was her name? Pam? Green? You should introduce yourselves, and I shall observe from here. So that's the lady who was found on the snow-covered pavement with a knife in her back. Her name is... Ah yes, here we are. Miss Green. But is it Pam? I don't think it's Pam. I think I forgot. Doesn't exist. I guess that means she's the culprit. Good morning. Hello, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo from the Empire of Japan. Oh no, was it your knife that... Are you the man who... No, I'm a lawyer. And I'm Susato Mikotoba. Pleased to meet you. Oh, was it your knife then? Are you the one? No, I assure you, I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. Oh, you did! Oh, that's an exciting part of the game. A very exciting part of the game. And quite close to the end. The end of Endwalker. Roughly in time for 6.1, which is... I don't think they announced a date, but it's probably, like, 3 weeks from today, if I were to take a guess. Hey, Faded. We heard that you'd regained consciousness and wanted to come give you our best wishes. Best wishes? For me? Oh, thank you. I'm Olive Green. I'm an artist. Well, no, that's not right, is it? What I mean is, I'm trying to be an artist. Well, what I really mean is I desperately want to be an artist. But the truth is, I don't have any talent. I know I don't. It's no wonder I was stabbed in the back. I don't think that's related, actually. Gosh, this young woman seems to bend over backwards to put herself down. Seeing as we're here, we should ask her about what happened from her perspective, I suppose. So we have flashed back to just after the case with the woman who got stabbed by the falling knife. To suddenly be struck in the back by a blade as you were walking along the pavement, what a terrible experience you had, Miss Green. It was so cold that day, and the fog was so thick, I couldn't see a thing. That was 4 days ago now, I think. Is that right? Hey, Garrett. Yes, that's right. I'm afraid you've been comatose all that time. But the case has been solved, hasn't it? While I've been here in the hospital, I mean. Indeed it has, my dear madame. Spectacularly. By none other than I, Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes, as you well know, it was Mr. Naruhodo's hard work in court that solved the case. Are you yet to hear what happened, Miss Green? Galmora? Now, Galmora... The Galmoran ruins are Palace of the Dead. Like, they're under Gridania. So that could be interesting. Although I don't know... I'm not completely up to speed on absolutely every last tidbit of Eorzean history. Terrible, I know. Yes, I'm afraid so. A gentleman from the police force is supposed to be coming to fill me in shortly. Oh, I see. Me coming around seems to have made everyone frantically busy. I'm so sorry. I should never have regained consciousness. It was selfish of me. Oh no! We're all so relieved that you're on the mend, Miss Green. Really, we are. Not much of an artist, but you're a talented fisher. Fishing for compliments. With that kind of attitude, maybe her surname should be Blue, not Green. Olive Blue. Blue olives cost extra. There's a tax. So you're an artist, are you, Miss Green? Oh, no. Oh, I couldn't possibly claim that. I'm a fledgling artist at best. I mean, I'm a student of art, really. At the Thorndyke Academy of Fine Arts. Oh, Taffa. I've heard of them. Oh my, an Academy of Fine Arts. Great Britain is such a wonderful country. Tell me, Miss Green, do you live hereabouts? Oh, no, actually. I don't deserve it, but I have a little flat on Brixton Road. I see. How very interesting. Oh no, is it? Brixton is some 10 stops away on the Underground from here. And Thorndyke Academy is a mere 3-minute walk from Brixton Town Centre. Does that matter, Mr. Sholmes? Perhaps not, but Briar Road is a far less salubrious part of town by comparison, dwelt in by those of inferior means, including the maleficent Mr. Mustache. Inferior means? I suppose Soseki-san does fit the bill. It struck me as somewhat out of the ordinary for a young fine arts student to be walking in such a district. That's all. What's this? She's suddenly clammed up. Mr. Sholmes, you should be ashamed of yourself, prying into a young maiden's private affairs. Oh dear me, do forgive me. If you don't mind. I'm being discharged shortly, so I need to pack up my things. Oh yes, of course. We won't keep you. Thank you so much, Miss Green. Eek! A mouse, Mr. Naruhodo. An enormous mouse. Vermin in a hospital? Doesn't seem the best. But it looks like a very healthy specimen, doesn't it? It's very plump. Not sure we can say that's down to the excellence of this facility, if that's what you were thinking. Anything wild up there? There are all sorts of medicine in this cabinet. Look, I'm not sure if it's safe leaving them in reach of everyone like this. Yes, you're right. I can imagine if you were peckish, you might try a whole bottle or two. Well, at least there seems to be a little lock to secure the cabinet doors. The entire Black Shroud, and at least according to some stuff from Speakers Network, Gilmore, was going to be a major plot point in 1.0. That does make sense. There's a lot of things that they... One of the interesting things, I don't know if you've heard this, that there were originally supposed to be 6 starting cities rather than 3. You were going to be able to start in Ul'dah, Gridania, Limsa, Korthus, Alamigo, or Sharlayan. But that was very, very ambitious of them to have 6 starting zones. I don't imagine that would stop you if you were hungry. I worry that you'd break the lock. Hunger doesn't turn me into a criminal, you know, Miss Susato. Oh, the medicine is delicious. Can I go somewhere else? They're like, no, stay here. Zamoon? That must be a bag of Miss Green's personal belongings. She would have been brought directly here after she was found stabbed on the pavement, though. I expect a friend or family member probably brought some things for her. Alright then. Let's see what's inside. A change of clothes, no doubt. And... No, Mr. Naruhodo, you must never scrutinize a young maiden's personal belongings. The young maiden may have chocolates, or biscuits, or caramel. This rounded wooden figure isn't the most charming, is it? I don't think that's a decoration, Mr. Naruhodo. It's an artist's mannequin, I believe, used when practicing sketching the human form in different poses. Really? Not exactly what you'd call a typical figure for that purpose, though, is it? No, I suppose not. I confess I've never seen one quite so full-figured before. Well, if you want to draw a full-figured person, it's the right tool for the job. Yeah. I'm trying to remember where I saw Yoshi P say that, because he was basically saying like he was happy to finally be putting Sharlayan in the game because it was the 6th. You know, they had the three starting cities, and he was like, I want to be able to bring Korthus into the game, and then bring Ala Mhigo into the game, and then finally we even brought Sharlayan in. What do they want me to... What is this? Look, there's a photograph in this frame here. Oh, that's important. Oh yes, it's a picture of a young gentleman. He looks to be about the same age as Miss Green, I would say. Perhaps the young woman's special someone, do you think? My, Mr. Naruhodo, I didn't know you had a sense for matters of the heart. Not in the least. I sincerely said the first thing I thought of. Well, that was important enough to progress the plot. Is there a Mr. Narrowfodder here? Mr. Narrowfodder? Narrowfodder now? Well, if you're looking for Naruhodo, the lawyer, that's me, but... Oh, Mr. Narrowfodder, good. This is for you. It's a message from Mr. Saucy Nutsmeg. Mr. Natsume sent a message to me? But why would a policeman be delivering a message from Mr. Natsume? Exactly. What's going on? What's a Scotland Yard constable doing playing delivery boy at this time in the morning? Looks like Onion Bro... Yeah. Does look a little bit like a Dark Souls character. Oh, what are you waiting for? Let me see that. Oh. Well, this is most unexpected. Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Is something wrong, Mr. Sholmes, he says. Have you not seen this note? No, how could I have? You just grabbed it from me. It would seem that London's criminals have no intention of letting the great detective rest. A new case calls. A case of murder, no less. We must depart at once. Murder? Call a cab. Time is of the essence. But the trouble is, we've yet to read Mr. Natsume's note. I was thinking we ought to pay him a visit in his lodgings once we did. That will be entirely convenient. Convenient? What do you mean? It's all here in the note, my dear fellows. The murder we must investigate took place in Mr. Mustache's lodgings. Wait, what? I'll hail a fiacre at once? Okay, we already had a hansom that I had to look up. Why are we insisting only by traveling by archaic words that I've never heard of? Fiacre. A small horse-drawn carriage. Okay, we'll just say that then. It was only yesterday that Soseki-san was in court, and we were dispelling doubts about his innocence, and now the very next day, there's a murder at the man's own address. He may very well be the unluckiest man alive. Or so it seemed to us at the time, but we were soon to discover it was worse than we thought. I'm going to go BRB for just a moment to check on laundry. I shall return. Okay, I am back. Annoyingly, not only is the dryer not available yet, somebody's had finished clothes in there for like 2 hours now. Somebody took my clothes out of the washer and just like dumped them on top of the dryer to make room so that they could do their like as whatever. I was a dead guy. What on earth? Oh my, the gentleman is deceased without question. He's dead. Welcome, student Mr. Naruhodo Esquire. Mr. Natsume. Oh, why? Why is this happening? Do you like the Souls games? I do not. I've never played any of them, and it's for a silly reason, I suppose. I just don't like the way that the animations work, like the way that they have. It's kind of silly because in other games, I guess it usually works the same way, but for some reason, the fact that it's realistic, I don't know. There's something about the way that like bosses don't recoil when you hit them, and the way that like animations have such a specific hitbox that I never like from watching it. I feel like they don't match where the attack lands, but but it's kind of a like even if they I don't know, I'm somehow biased against them now. So I've never played any Souls games or Souls-likes. Why is this happening? Why to me? I've only just got out of court yesterday. I was finally home after 2 days of misery. And then I wake up the next day to this? No early bird should catch a worm like this. Woeful worm without wiggle. I see you're in high spirits again this morning, Mr. Mustache. Arg! Not the horrible Hairlock Sholmes. Shoo! Shove off! Show yourself the door. I never invited you. Mr. Sholmes came here with us. I'm quite sure he'll be able to help you, Mr. Natsume. I am entirely at your disposal, Mr. Mustache. What can I do for you? Grrr! Here they are, already. The busybodies. Ah, Inspector Gregson, what a pleasant surprise. Pleasant, is it? Gives me heartburn every time I see your face at a crime scene, Sholmes. Ha! I deduce, Inspector, that your heartburn is a result of your excessive consumption of fried food. Good morning, Inspector. This is a crime scene. Don't go touching anything. Or a good morning to you, Sunshine. Oi! Oi, oi! I said hands off. You're gonna mess up my crime scene. No, I just wanted to look, that's all. No chance. I know you're kind. You'll mess it up just by looking at it. Quantum entanglement. Someone's in a bad mood. There's certainly some bad air in here. Is he ever not eating fish and chips? What do you mean? Doesn't everybody always eat fish and chips? I thought that was normal. Alright, sounds like I better talk to the inspector first and try to curry some favor. But he doesn't like curry. He likes fish and chips. So, Inspector, what was the victim's name? Who was he? Mr. William Shamspear. He was a lodger here. As you can probably tell, he was an actor. Bit of a dead loss, as it happens, or just dead. Mr. Shamspear? It was the landlord, old Mr. Garadab, and that other lodger, Mr. Natsume, who found him. The fellow didn't rise at his usual hour, so Garadab got worried and kicked the door down. But doesn't Mr. Garadab have a bad leg? Oh yeah, you're right there. It was that jittery Japanese hunchback over there who actually did the kicking. Really? Soseki-san? The victim was pretty hard up, it seems. Even done some time inside for petty crimes. He had no money, no place to go, and no friends. His only acquaintances were the people in this house. A miserable life and a miserable end to it. So, what exactly is Mr. Natsume still doing here? He's not involved in the investigation, so shouldn't you have sent him away from the crime scene? Well, I'm not saying it's because the fellow looks odd or anything, or that he acts suspicious. But I thought it would be prudent to take a statement from the cohabiter. You nearly said culprit there, didn't you? Oh dear. Mr. Natsume appears to be under suspicion again. Certainly seems that way. He does just come across as an odd fellow, doesn't he? Poor man. How unfortunate. Anyway, I can't say much until the coroner gets here. But I don't think the fellow's been a goner that long. The body's still warm. Even if the inspector would allow it. I don't think I could bring myself to touch a dead body. So I touched it! No. Wait, why is it already checked? Oh, I said hands up. Oh, because I'm not allowed to... I'm not allowed to look at anything. What a terrible thing to have happened. It's only been 3 days since I was arrested for the incident on the pavement outside. And then, having finally regained my freedom, it starts happening all over again. Endless existence of excruciating experiences. So the victim lived here on the ground floor, and your room was just 1 story up, isn't it? Yes, that's right. In a way, we were neighbors, I suppose. So did you know the victim? Were you friends? A lot of dots. What's the matter with Soseki-san now? It was an innocent enough question, wasn't it? Why does he seem so shaken by it? Well, I suppose he wasn't a complete stranger. But did he ever invite me to his room? Never! On my honor, I swear it! What an extreme reaction. You're probably wishing you'd never asked now, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? When we found him here, I felt wretched, which is why I sent word asking you to come. Through that inspector over there! Do you mind? What are you doing? Mr. Sholmes, what are you doing? You need only observe to know it, my dear fellow. Investigating, naturally. There's nothing natural about that pose. Mr. Sholmes, have you made some miraculous discovery? Patience, my dear madame, patience. We have not been here in this room for 5 minutes. So far, all I've managed to deduce is what actually happened. My goodness! But isn't that everything we need to know, Mr. Sholmes? Now that you propose the idea, I believe one could indeed see it that way. At the present time, I have managed to draw 2 incontrovertible conclusions. The first, that there was a physical struggle here last night in which the victim fought for his life. Mr. Natsume, what's wrong? Is something that Mr. Sholmes said significant somehow? No, don't mind me. Forget I was here. And my second conclusion is that there was a poison lingering in the air here last night that passed the victim's lips. Nonsense! Why are we so close to everyone? Alright, Mr. Natsume, why are you reacting so extremely to Mr. Sholmes' deductions? No, please, pretend I'm not here. Invisible, ineffable, inscrutable, insignificant. Impossible to ignore. You must tell us everything, Mr. Sholmes. Spare no detail. But, of course, let the theatrical tragedy before us be unraveled by my great deductions, presented for your pleasure in 2 acts. I've heard some truly astounding great deductions from Mr. Sholmes in the past. No doubt, this will be no exception. What miracles will unfold before our eyes this time? So, my dear fellows, for your delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Herlock Sholmes' Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. The game is afoot. Cause of death. These are very enjoyable. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate, which contains, you will observe, butter? 1/2 of a sizable bar. 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish? Like the victim's Last Supper, in fact, yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. It appears that the young man's appetite was his undoing. Taking up arms in the form of his cutlery, the victim engaged in a deadly battle for his life. Yet the struggle against his hunger was in vain, for in the end, he couldn't resist devouring the slippery feast. But London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by a poison that tainted the contents of the plate. The soap and the lather about the young man's mouth are too perfectly matched to ignore. The cause of death was clearly intoxication due to excessive ingestion of foul soap. Though personally, I have a greater interest in the taste of foul candle wax, of course. The cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the question: was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall the death occurred during the victim's Last Supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. The careful criminal could have absconded with his own cup to cover his tracks. Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Though forced open now, at the time of the incident, this door was locked. And the sole key was in the victim's pocket. A locked room mystery. In other words, when the victim consumed the poison, he must have been alone. Alone with his inferior soap from whence wafted an inferior scent. And with that acrid aroma lingering in the air, the victim met his end in tragic solitude. We can take comfort only in the fact that his soul was well cleansed on its way to the hereafter. You heard it here first, folks. If someone dies of poison and they were alone at the time, they must have poisoned themselves. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Yay! There's just one thing, Mr. Sholmes. You are disposed to identifying just one thing, aren't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Pray, what concerns you? Well, no matter how hungry he was, do you really think the man would have eaten soap? It is quite apparent that this man had barely a penny to his name. It is a curious thing, but to one so destitute, soap can suddenly appear quite irresistibly appetizing. How extraordinary! In truth, I have tried a little soap myself in the past. You've eaten it, you mean? My dear fellow, it was some time ago now. My postulation was that it would cleanse my gut. And did it? As I writhed in agony on the floor and spilt the contents of my stomach, yes, I believe it did. The experience taught me a valuable lesson. Soap is quite poisonous. It has an unpleasant taste and leads to great discomfort. In summary, I cannot recommend it. Believe me, I wouldn't eat it, even if you did. There's something that troubles me as well, actually. Oh, what's that? It's Mr. Natsume. Ah! I couldn't help noticing him shuddering and quivering out of the corner of my eye. Almost as if Mr. Sholmes' deductions touched a nerve somehow. Nonsense. Well, that clenched teeth episode didn't last. I think, judging by Mr. Natsume's reaction, the Great Detective's deductions may need some gentle corrections in order to reach the actual truth. Yes, Mr. Sholmes' observations and deductions are sometimes a little too sharp. He has a tendency to hit the nail on the side of the head and drive it in at an obtuse angle. When he does that, it falls to us to straighten things out. Alright then, let's see what we can do. Yes, we must pick out the key words in Mr. Sholmes' quite brilliant deductions, and discreetly exchange them for something that makes a little more sense. If we can do that, I'm sure we'll arrive at what Mr. Sholmes meant to say in the first place. In that case, are you ready for the second performance of the day? Once again, my dear fellows, for your continued delight and wonder, let the curtain rise. For Sherlock Sholmes, Logic and Reasoning Spectacular, Act 1. Careful observation of the victim reveals to us the events that transpired in this disconsolate room last night. Foam at the mouth of the deceased clearly indicates the use of poison. Next to the victim, we notice a large dining plate which contains, you will observe, 1/2 of a sizable bar of soap. Meaningful? Indubitably. Why is this soap set so purposefully upon the dish, like the victim's Last Supper, in fact? Yes. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the fork reveals the answer. Stop breaking the fourth wall, he's looking at the camera. Well, you can't deny that a fork implies the man was eating something or about to eat something. Yes, that's true. If I were to decide to eat some soap, I should prefer to use a fork rather than attempt it with chopsticks. And of course, only half of the bar of soap is left on the plate. But might there not be some other explanation? Something material that proves whether or not the man really ate some soap? I don't know, bite marks? I suppose to eat soap with a fork, would you? I don't think it's a question of which implement you'd use. You shouldn't eat soap full stop. But then why? Why does the man have a fork in his hand? Oh dear, I understand your frustration, Mr. Naruhodo, but please, don't take it out on me. The point is, if we decide the man used this fork to eat the soap, we wouldn't be changing Mr. Sholmes' deduction, so we really ought to consider some other clues. He had just watched Disney's Little Mermaid, and he was going to do his hair. He was going to do his hair with the fork. Do you think he was drinking tea with his soap? The cup's empty, so there's no way of knowing. How about this for an idea? Perhaps the cup was full of water and he was dissolving soap in it so he could gulp down as much as possible. Please remember that he may not have actually been the soap lover he's been made out to be. What is this? No? Nothing? Look, there's more soap on the floor here. Mr. Shamspeare must have really loved this stuff. Let's not jump to conclusions, Mr. Naruhodo. Look closely at the soap. Do you see that it would fit together perfectly with a half bar on the table? What the? How can that be? I think that they are two halves of the same bar that broke apart. So I guess it's going to be that, because if there's two halves, then he didn't eat either one of them.
Take that!
Don't eat soap, just say nope. Could it be that the man was about to eat it? Of course, the other piece of soap reveals the answer. It being the other half of the soap on the table. In short, the victim was not eating soap at all. But it's obvious, really, for no depths of hunger could drive any man to attempt to eat soap. Even I, with my unquenchable thirst for practical knowledge, took only a single bite. That begs the question of how the man was poisoned, because there's no sign of any food on the table. An excellent observation, Mr. Naruhodo, and one that furnishes us with the answer we seek. For London's foul soap is besmirched by foul poison. Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the contents of the plate. Mr. Sholmes is still pushing the soap argument then. Perhaps he's suggesting the man licked the soap rather than ate it. If soap in London is that poisonous, I don't think I'd want to be washing my hands with it. But there are no signs of any food in this room at all. Food isn't the only thing that passes people's lips, is it? Yes, a Western vessel for the serving of infusions of dried tea leaves. It's a teacup, Mr. Naruhodo, as you well know. Stop putting on airs. And it's empty. So we've already established that the victim wasn't eating soap when he died. However, there's significant evidence to suggest he was drinking tea. My thoughts exactly.
Take that!
Yes, the victim's life was claimed by poison that tainted the teacup. Indeed, cups have been the vessel of choice for practicing poisoners over the centuries. And it would appear that this victim drank every last drop. There's no sign of food anywhere in the room. Which leads us to the immutable conclusion: the cause of death was clearly intoxication due to the ingestion of poison contained in this teacup. That was super easy. Cause of death identified, we proceed to Act 2, where we ponder the next question. Was this suicide or murder? The audience will recall that the death occurred during the victim's last supper. Did the man dine and die alone? This single teacup suggests the answer. The Western vessel for infused hot drinks again. It's already featured heavily in our other deductions so far. Yes, we can imagine that shortly before his death, Mr. Shamspear was having a drink of tea. There would be nothing remarkable about that, but what troubles me is Mr. Natsume's reaction when he heard Mr. Sholmes suggest it. Tea, of course, is the only liquid that will let itself be contained in a teacup. We must closely examine the scene of the crime again for more clues. Okay, like what? Like the hat? Not like the hat. Like Mr. Natsume? No. Oh. Like the other teacup.
Take that!
Did the man dine and die alone? This other teacup suggests the answer. Yes, there were two teacups in this room all along. In other words, this is a strong indication that at the victim's last supper, there was a guest present. At the very least, we can now say with certainty that somebody else was here in this room last night, taking tea with the victim. What are you talking about? Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. To draw a conclusion on such meager evidence would be foolish, however, certainly. In which case, what more can we deduce about this possible guest at the table? Well, allow me to lift the veil of doubt, my dear fellow. Do you mean to say you know exactly who was in this room at the time of the victim's death? Indeed. What reveals the answer, of course, is the broken lock. Sure, I like where this deduction is going now. I'm afraid it's too late to go back to the halcyon days of eating too much soap. But the identity of the guest who was in here last night when the victim passed away is something I have a very bad feeling about. Well, you can try to ignore your feelings, but we cannot ignore the truth, Mr. Naruhodo. I suppose not. Time to look around again. Even Mr. Shamspear didn't eat candles, it seems. We've already established that he didn't eat soap either. Do you think perhaps the guest brought this candle here last night? Even if he or she did, does it reveal anything about the guest's identity? Good point. There goes my idea. Snuffed out like that candle will be. If you sigh so deeply, Mr. Naruhodo, you're in danger of blowing out the flame. The vino? It's empty. Empty of liquid, but full of air. That makes you think, doesn't it? Isn't it strange that ice sublimates at 96 degrees or whatever? It makes me think you're full of hot air. We should be thinking about who else was in the room at the time. Bother. Susanoo-san's quip in response was cleverer than my original riddle. At first glance, it seems that the only things in this room are the makeshift stage and the costumes. I overlooked these 3 books initially. I wonder what they are. Let's see. The titles read The Picture of Michel Lecoq, Canterbury Yearnings, and A Meal for Gaboriau. Wait, I'm sure I've heard those titles before. Could just be an incredible coincidence, but they're the exact same 3 books that Mr. Natsume purchased the other day. What? Yes, on the day of the unfortunate incident when Miss Green was stabbed, Soseki-san had just been to a bookshop and bought them. That's right. And now those 3 titles are here in the room of the victim. Yet Mr. Natsume claims never to have been here before. What does this mean, you think? I really don't know what to make of it. Pile of familiar books.
Take that!
Indeed, what reveals the answer, of course, is a pile of familiar books. Quite so. It's no mere coincidence that these 3 titles are here in this room. It's the link to the truth. Ugh! Mr. Natsume, you purchased these books 4 days ago at a second-hand bookshop. That's just a coincidence. In that case, you will be able to bring the same 3 titles from your own room, will you not? This very moment. No, never, non-negotiable. If you can't bring your own copies here, it proves these 3 books are in fact yours. Having purchased the books 4 days ago and returned to your lodgings, you were arrested the very next day. So you could conceivably have brought the books here on that evening, but you never mentioned that. In other words, you could only have brought these 3 books here to the victim's room. Last night, having returned to your lodgings after the trial concluded at the Old Bailey. In short, there is only one possible conclusion. The victim died here in his room last night as a result of poisoning. And that same night, the victim had a visitor. And that visitor... was you, Mr. Soseki Natsume. Thus concludes the final act of Herlock Sholmes' Great Deduction. Not really solved. That doesn't tell us whether it was suicide or murder, now does it?